Ah, I'm here.
That's how we're gonna start this.
Ah,
Welcome
oh
back
my
to
God.
Conversations in
What
Pop
happened?
Culture. We are back in the saddle once again for another
Yeah.
season, and obviously, I have with me comic creator Rich Perotta, I think it is, or
Perotta. Everybody gets it wrong. It's okay. Perotta.
Perotta,
Yes.
who
How you doing,
has
man?
done
Perotta.
everything in
Everybody gets it wrong.
comics.
It's okay. Perotta.
Perotta,
Oh, I can hear me.
who
How you doing,
has
man?
done everything in
Everybody gets
comics.
it
I don't
wrong.
know if
It's
that's
okay.
me or if that's you. This is not
Oh,
good.
I can hear me. How you doing, man?
I fixed it. We're good.
Okay, we're
That
okay?
happens. Echoes happen. It's all
All right.
good.
Okay.
It's a Saturday. I think it's a Saturday at the very least. But
It's a Saturday, yeah. It's still a Saturday here. What time? You're in on the Eastern time zone, correct?
yes, I'm in Connecticut Eastern time. But
Okay, cool.
enough about me. Because this
Eh.
is about you and everything
Oh,
that you've
please.
done. And
Don't make it about me. Don't make it about me because I'll talk about myself the whole time. I'm a complete narcissist. Not
well, that
complete,
might
just
be true.
mostly.
That
Yeah,
might be true. But I definitely
that
do
might
want.
be.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about you to some degree because
By all means, please. I'm honored you even want to. I'm honored you have me on your show. Thank you.
no, I'm excited to have you on. And this
Yeah,
is the
thanks,
thing
man.
that's interesting about you is that
Mm.
you came into comics a little before 1994, but you did a lot of work for Marvel. And you were in a very interesting time because one
Yes,
of
it
the
was.
things about people in comics is that a lot of people have come in the last 10 years, I feel. And Kickstarter, and in the last 5, Kickstarter has expanded and it has made more of an indie movement. But you have been through Marvel
Yeah,
in 1994 and
yeah,
everything was okay during that time. But then
yeah.
obviously the whole comic bankruptcy happened and all these
hmm
people were laid off. And I know that you survived at least one round of that. But what was the scene like? Because I think people have forgotten that comics didn't just start 5 years ago.
Well, you want me to start when I was working there on staff? Okay. Well, it was pretty. It was plentiful. I don't know what Marvel was doing, but at one point in the mid 1994, they had about 110 titles that they were publishing, right around that. And what happened was that a good majority of them were really bad. Now I was working in the art corrections department, and man, we were busy. It's like yeah, a lot of the artwork that was submitted into to some of these offices and editorial offices, and I can't. I was blown away that the quality of these pages were actually being published. You know, it's like they were just outrageously bad. But
So, so, so
I think
yeah.
what they were trying to do was like trying to outpace the sales for DC Comics or something. And I think there was a investors market where everyone was just purchasing copies of like the first issue of everything, and they just decided to push everything out there. And it was after a while. I mean, it just got too much. A lot of the books are being returned; they were terrible, and a couple of other things happened along the ways. And you know, Marvel almost went under right around 95, but then definitely around 97.
Yeah, so let's even talk about that because
Sure.
obviously, I mean, they had a bunch of good stuff in
Yeah, they
the
did.
and they
The
even had
ones that
good stuff in
I'm
the
sorry,
90s.
go ahead, Andrew. My apologies. You first.
No, you're fine. You're fine. This is an open discussion in a lot of ways.
Ah,
I'm very relaxed right now, especially after my interview last night around 5 o'clock. If anyone saw that's a whole different ball game.
okay.
Super fascinating interview.
Hmm.
Definitely not safe for work. Is a nice way to put it.
I'm gonna. I'll be nice and calm. Trust me. I need to be. I mean, I usually I'd like to think that I am now lately, but yeah, there are times when I'm really raw. But I'm not gonna do that.
It's fine. You can say whatever you want on my show. It's an open
Yes.
show. I don't really care so much as long as
Thank you.
it's not terrible.
What happened was I remember the day that we found out what was going on. We were all. It was right after Christmas, right after New Year's, and we were in this hall. It was like decked out. It had shrimp plates all over, open catering, open bar, the whole thing, the whole shebang. And we did this for a few hours. and we got really soused and we got really full of food and all that stuff. We were all jolly and all happy, masters of the universe and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, they decided to lay out their plans for what they were going to do for Marvel Comics going forward from January 1995 on. And they decided to consolidate 110 titles that they were publishing. And they canceled 60 of them, and they were going to run with maybe 50 titles. So a lot of us were wondering, that's a lot of shortened books. What's going to happen? So within a couple of days, and I will not forget that day, Marvel laid off 2/3 of their staff. 2/3. That includes the editors. That includes a lot of the production people. A lot of administrative, a lot of receptionists, a lot of corporate, all that stuff. Those guys got fried quick. It happened all in a day or two. And yeah, we all went to the pub. We all went to the pub afterwards, and a lot of us were commiserating on how terrible it was. I survived. So did a couple of other people that I knew that were there, but it wasn't much. There wasn't much left. And
So to even talk about that, because
yeah,
obviously, I mean, that's a big issue that happened. And Marvel was a big company. They were putting out a lot of work, good, bad, indifferent. To even put something out is
yeah,
a big deal to some degree.
mhm,
But
yeah,
then now there's two things. A bunch of people are out of work. They don't
yeah.
know what they're going to do. And I don't know if this is a full-time job for a bunch of people or
It
whatever
was.
it was. But
It was.
now there's not really another place you can go if you were laid off. And then on top of that, it's the intellectual property. And it's also, if you survive, it's like, okay, cool. What are we going to be doing next? Because this ship is somewhat sinking to some
Yeah.
degree. What was that like? Because there's two things I think that are in play in that circumstance.
Well, it was a little bit unnerving for a while. It was a little bit scary, but after about a week or two, I think we all had a better idea of where we were going to go and what we were going to do. And it turns out we just continuously just went on our merry way and just doing the work we were supposed to do. It was just a little bit less. Now, the job I had in the art corrections department was a start temporary job. It was for like a year. I was there for about a year and 3 months, and it was a great time. And then shortly after, I got hired as a freelance artist there, and I was on just about every title you could think of for about 10 years. And then, yeah, I had fun with that. It was great.
So
And
let's even talk about that too, because what is that
yeah,
like? Because one of the things is that,
what
and
is it like being a freelance artist for
oh
Marvel?
no, I was going to ask a question. Being working for Marvel and
Mhm.
working with people, because this was when Marvel was quote unquote good. They had actual people who knew what they were doing and were experts in
Mhm.
that area. And
Not
so,
really, but okay.
I mean, Marvel today is a disaster. DC today is a disaster.
Yeah, it's a little bit up
First
there.
being somebody, I
Yeah.
can't think of a top Marvel artist or even a good editor, but at Marvel during the 90s, but they were a lot better, I felt. So what was that like? Because obviously you were getting direction, I felt.
The editors I worked with were fantastic, for the most part. Um, I'm not sure if I could say the names of these set editors, but I can tell you they kept me flowing with work, and they kept me very very solvent. They kept me very busy for a good 10 years. There were a couple of small dry spells, but not much, and it was great, you know. But what I was doing over there, I felt like I was just, yeah, this is enough. I really don't want to do this anymore. And right around that time, I got married for the first time. There's a little bit of personal tidbit information for you. And right around 2004, I stopped working for them. I moved to North Carolina for a bit. And then for about 5 years, I did the whole domestic bliss thing, which I worked and I did all that stuff. It was okay. It was great. You know, it was a learning experience. I moved to an entirely different culture. You know, I moved down to the South. I'm a New York boy. And then about 5 years after that, I decided, I got the itch again. I want to do this again. So I got a gig over at DC Comics for a couple of years, and then that's when it stopped altogether because I'm like, okay, I worked for the big two. Excuse me, I crossed that precipice. What's next? So
So,
after,
so I
I'm
want
sorry.
to break this down before we dive into
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
question. But obviously, I mean, you went through a whole Marvel bankruptcy in Chapter 11, and one of the things that's
Yeah.
going on right now that's the big deal in comics is Aftershock, and obviously
Yeah.
Aftershock went bankrupt.
I heard about it. I don't know
Frankie's
what went through from
is
that.
not bankrupt, but they're going to be solved. I made a whole video about it last night for like 50 minutes.
Can you send
Frankie's
me the link to that? Can you send me the link to that? I'd love to see it.
Yeah. I'll send it to you after.
Yeah,
Frankie's
thank you.
Comics
Thank you.
is only in debt for $1 million. $1 million, that is not a lot of money to
That's
handle.
not a lot of money.
It's
Comparatively,
really
it's
not.
not a lot of money.
50 million is a lot of money.
That is, yeah. 50 is more than one.
Yeah.
But it's wow. Just they went under because of a million
So
dollars?
Frankie's is in a chapter 11 right now. So I think Frankie's is going to be fine. I
Okay.
think Aftershock's in a chapter 11 as well, but I don't think Aftershock's going to be okay. I think Frankie's Comics is going to be fine because $1 million is very serviceable. And this is
Yeah.
my area where I love finance. I know a lot about it. $1 million,
That's
I
done.
can finance Frankie's problem in an hour if I really wanted to. Aftershock is a bigger deal because financing 50 million, even at a
Yeesh.
9% interest rate, is 4.5 million just in interest a year. And I don't think I have
Wow.
that money. Frankie's at a 9% interest rate on a 36-month term is $3,100 a month.
That's not
So
much.
$3,100 to solve an issue is nothing. And
No, it
they
isn't.
usually raise that money. Frankie's Aftershock is way more than that. So the point is that the reason why I wanted to bring up the Marvel stuff is I'm very curious about your take on Aftershock because having worked for a company and obviously Marvel's now doing better, it's
uh,
a crazy circumstance because I don't even know what that looked like as an employee of Aftershock, what they must be feeling, and even what potentially happened to their IPs.
well, their IPs are intact. I would think if they're their own IPs that are copyrighted and whatnot, then they're fine. It's not a question of that. I mean, if they decide to have any, I mean, when Marvel almost went under in '97, they sold off most of their properties. They sold off their most popular, IPs. X-Men and Fantastic Four went to Fox. The Hulk went to Universal. Spider-Man went to Sony. Uh, I forgot where Daredevil went, but a whole bunch of the other characters, they all went out there because at that time, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four were the most popular comic books at that point. So they had that, and they managed to. I guess they managed to stave off the Chapter 11 as a result of the selling of those characters to those other studios. But I mean, after '95, for Marvel, we wound up being okay, and after '97, we wound up being okay because I think shortly afterwards, or right around that time, Joe Quesada came in, and he brought a great slew of artists to work on the secondary books, like Daredevil, Punisher, like Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon, whoever else was on the Daredevil books at the time, Ghost Rider. I mean, he made sure that those secondary ones were really popping because you already had a great team with X-Men and Fantastic Four. That was great. But if you take that was a genius move, by the way, by putting popular writers and artists on secondary characters and giving them a little bit more notice and a little bit more attention. That helped. That helped quite a bit, and slowly but surely, Marvel got back to where it was, and then they were bought out by Disney, which and then Iron Man was the first movie essentially for the MCU, and then it was lights out after that. But as far as Aftershock is concerned, I can only assume that anybody on staff over at Aftershock um, probably feels the same way, but it sounds, if it's complete, I can't, I don't even know how many titles does Aftershock even publish on a monthly basis?
I don't
What do they
know.
have? They can't have that many. They can't
Yeah.
have that many. If they have 15, I'd be surprised. You
Their
know?
biggest title is We Live, I think. And that thing ran away with got a lot of popularity. And then it had
Mhm.
a bunch of sequels. And I think that's their biggest title as far as known
Yeah.
stuff. And then they have a few others that are really good.
Yeah, that's not much. You
So
see, that's the whole thing. I mean, they started out with a bang, I mean, because it was presented, as a reasonably large launch. I mean, I knew the editor in chief. I think it was Mike Martz. He used to work. He was at Marvel and DC about 5 or 6 times back and forth. But I've known Mike Martz for a great length of time. I don't know if he was still the editor in chief there, but this is it's pretty big. It's like it doesn't seem like anybody's doing any. It looks like it won't. No one will be doing anything in at Aftershock anymore until whatever it is they're solving, what they have to solve. I mean, as far as any of the members of the staff, yeah, I know how they feel. It sucks because
You're
it
the
doesn't look
person.
like they're working anymore. No, all these books, if they're being canceled, you have all those freelancers who are now trying to look for work again.
Because
That
you're the
that hurts. That hurts a
you're the
lot, man.
person who's been through this, and that's why I'm very curious your opinion. Because
Yeah, it's not pleasant. If you're a freelancer, it's not pleasant because your bread and butter is based on how much work you can produce and how good you can produce it. Now, I mean, even I had plenty of work for the 10 years I was at Marvel, and quite frankly, for the 2 I was at DC. I had a good amount of work, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But there were times when I wasn't getting a little bit more of like a couple of bites here and there from other editors, so I had to go look for the other work. Like I had to hustle in the middle of doing the work that I was doing. So you have all of that, and it's like you have to have that added pressure of continuously hustling. And this is before the internet was something that you could use to continuously search all the time for freelance artwork. And excuse me, sorry about that. I was having some tea. Nowadays, it's if you want to try and get into the big two or some of the other companies, it's that much harder because everyone and their brother is trying to submit all their
let
portfolios
me
and all their work into it.
let me ask you a question about that too,
Sure.
because obviously, what I see right now on the indie side, and again,
Mhm.
how I see it is I see a lot of people going one or two directions, saying I don't want to work for the big two
Yeah, you don't
because
have to. Not
I'm not
anymore.
interested. I want to do my own stuff. The real
Yeah.
money in creator owned per
Mhm.
se. Maybe they want to go to an image. Maybe they want to go to a smaller one, like a Titan, a Zenoscope. Maybe they want to go to Dark Horse, something like that, or IDW or
Okay.
Dynamite. Or what some people want to do is they want to produce a book, produce a good book, but then they want to get into Scout because they want the Scout name next to their name and they want that
Mhm.
brand association, or they want to make a pitch to work at Marvel. And so they want to produce a book because they want to work at Marvel for a few years so that they build their brand using Marvel's name.
What,
So,
their own book working for Marvel?
or writing, Spider-Man and then have like a 2 3 year
That's
thing and then come out
that's
of it. And
so hard to do.
I think it's a really bad business plan. I think it's
Well,
a really
it's hard to do. It's you see, Marvel has said in no uncertain terms that they don't. I don't think they accept submissions that much anymore because it's Marvel. They're going to receive thousands upon thousands daily. I think what they do is they look for people. I think what they do is they look for you. They look for the artist that they think is going to have the biggest impact. I can only assume DC Comics might be doing that also, provided they're even around in a few years anymore. From what I understand, they're doing horribly. It's I don't know the state of American comics, especially independent ones. I mean, they're thriving within their own bubble, but they don't hold a candle to the big two or to manga comics. Manga comics outsell American comics by at least 3 to 1,
oh,
from what I understand, maybe
oh,
even higher.
by far. I'm going to Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad news. Because it's like we're getting it's like the Japanese have once again taken over another major industry that we love. First it was the cars, now it's this. So it's like, and it's quite frankly, it's our fault. Quite frankly, it's our fault. We have the
So
capability
let's
of
even talk
creating
about
so much
that.
better stories, and we don't.
So I'm a little biased where I'm a big, collector. I have a thriving eBay business selling variants. And I think the
Okay.
variant market collectively in comics is doing fantastic.
Well,
But
that's
that
good.
that
What
doesn't mean
is the variant market? What is that?
so it's just different covers that deal with
Oh, I
exclusivity.
got okay. All right, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
So maybe it's a 200 print run, but nobody
Okay.
is necessarily reading that book, but they're looking at
Yeah.
the art. and it's very
Yeah.
self an alternative asset class. That
Mhm.
is doing fine, and that
Good.
will continue to do fine. And there's a reason why all these stores now are starting to carry variants, because the margins are higher, and it almost exclusively sometimes keeps up a shop and allows them to last another month or another year, and there's real
Okay.
money in it. But I don't necessarily think it's good for the industry as far as readership. It's
Yeah.
good as far as sometimes you have to do things to keep your business alive, and that might be the answer.
Yeah.
But again, it's a component that I don't think is toxic, but it's also not growing. But
Well,
I'm curious about that
the
too.
thing with me is, as far as variant covers is concerned, yeah, you can have one or two. If you, I mean, do what you want. But for me, it's like, if you're gonna have someone of note doing the interiors, you really would rather have them do the cover also, instead of like having a cover by a particular artist and all of a sudden the interiors look different. That's never been a good look for me. I mean, I'm not a fan of anything like that. I mean, if you want, go ahead and use them. If it works, fine. If it gets you
Oh
a little
no,
bit
no,
more money, or fine. But
I
yeah,
like
I'm
the
not a
rule.
fan of it.
I think the rule ultimately is that if your interior artist did a cover, maybe they should do the cover A. And then if you have
Oh yeah,
somebody
absolutely, absolutely.
who like, I'm a big Sun Kumanaki fan, for instance. I
Mhm.
love Sun Kumanaki. So if Sun Kumanaki did a cover B, I don't
Mhm.
think that's disrespectful, but I also think that you have to make that crystal clear. I
Yeah.
think where it becomes tricky is when you don't
Mhm.
make it clear. And I've seen
Yeah.
it. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh
That's not
man, there's
good.
a nude girl on the cover of the book, and then the book has no nudity. I'm like, what the fuck? So I've seen that, but also because I hate to say
Yeah.
it, people don't read beyond just the picture, and they look at the cover and they're like, oh, that's what the book's going to look like. And well,
Yeah.
it
I
looks,
mean, it's not a
but
practice I would employ. That's just me. Do what you want. It's not a practice that I would overtly employ. Maybe I would, if I when I finish publishing my next thing. I'd consider it, but not really. I mean, if I was going to do it, it would be a friend of mine who I trust. I can name two or three people off the top of my head that I would say, yes, you can please do a variant cover. Yeah, they know who they are, but yeah, it's a very, very select few that I would trust. Very select few.
well, I have a list of only a few people that I want to do variants for me. And my project is going to be interesting. It's coming this year.
Well,
And
good for you, man. When are you launching that?
I have to raise some capital first, maybe June, August.
Okay, good
So
for you,
so so
man.
so it's a little while out. I'm dealing
Mhm.
with a surgery first, in which that
Okay,
one problem comes before another. And I
okay,
figured that why add extra pressure onto myself, and I think that that's another thing that people sometimes in comics don't
yeah,
understand is that, it's you're making a comic, and maybe you're better off doing 3 books a year and not killing yourself on that fourth one.
yeah, yeah. Three is a push. If you're doing it by yourself, three is a push. I've discovered that. I discovered that quite recently, that it's not easy to do a book in such a short amount of time, because you wind up messing up a lot of things. So for me, it would be like, yeah, twice a year is the most that I would ever do. Twice a year is the most I would ever do. You know, yeah, that's it. No more.
So, getting back though to the manga thing, I
Yeah.
mean, look, I'm going to Barnes and Noble tomorrow,
All right,
and
excellent.
all these kids
Mhm.
go, and now they're all buying manga, and they all come in, and they're buying 3, 4 books, and then they don't go over to the graphic novel section. Barnes and Noble stopped carrying comics, and I mean,
There's a reason why. I mean, a lot of the manga books. First off, they have greater volume of pages. That's one. And if they're more expensive than American comics, they're only slightly more expensive than American comics. Whereas, you have graphic novels that may be 48 pages or maybe 72, maybe if they're lucky. And you have regular 22-page comic books that are still like, I can only imagine if they're 4.95 or 5.95 now per issue. It's just like, that's a lot, and the stories just aren't that great. And the storytelling isn't, from what I understand, it's not really all that compelling. I mean, it's like, what is this, like the fifth time that Marvel has relaunched new universes. I mean, DC does the same thing. They just didn't they just do in Crisis Infinity Crisis, something like that. They redid Crisis of Infinite Earths again. You know, it's
Like
like
new
it's like
Infinity
it's
Crisis,
enough. You
new
know, I mean,
52.
how many of these special events do you have in order to do something?
I mean, the
Yeah,
last major good DC event I read was Blackest Night, and I thought Blackest Night was very original. I thought
is
that
that Green Lantern?
it was Green Lantern,
Okay, all right,
and it
okay,
was Jeff Johns spearheading it, and
okay.
it was brilliant. It was great, but I haven't
Yeah,
read anything since. I mean, I don't care
yeah,
about
neither
anything.
do I.
I
Neither do
mean,
I.
and then I read Fear Itself, which I thought was pretty decent by Marvel. But that was what,
Yeah,
2008, I want to say. I mean, that
yeah,
was 2008, 2009. I mean, that no, actually, it was probably more like 2010, 2011. But even
yeah.
still, like, that's not good. That's 10
It's
years
not.
ago. And I just think it's a disaster. When I look at manga, I look at the fact that manga is $10 for 10 chapters, 200 pages.
That's quite a bit. That's really good.
And then I look at it, it looks nice. Also, manga has all the same size. So I don't know about anybody else, but I have a bookshelf. I put my manga on my bookshelf and it looks nice. It's
Yeah,
nice and it's all the same
that's
size.
good.
And guess what? I don't need to change my shelf sizes
That's
anymore.
right.
And it sounds weird and it sounds like a weird position, but it makes it easier. And it
It's
just,
not a weird position at all. It's not weird in the slightest. You're keeping things organized. I mean, it's you're a collector of these books, and it's like you're making sure that if you feel like reminiscing about a book that you read a while ago that gave you an impact, but you put it away, you know where it is. You know, you don't have to go climbing through everything with all different sizes of graphic novels. You don't have to do that anymore. You know, I mean, it's like there's about 1,000 different formats that American comics use, and it's like there's just one for manga, and that's it. You know, it's just that's it. We're good.
yeah,
You
and then
know,
every once in a
it's
while,
like
there's a different format that is used, but usually that's a hardcover. And if that's
yeah, yeah,
the case, then you suck it up. Or sometimes, every once in a while, I come across a weird manga book that just looks funky. But for the
yeah,
most part, 99% of manga all looks the same as far as in the things, and so it makes it easier and it looks clean. If you
yeah,
have 3 shelves of manga, it looks clean. If you
yeah.
have 3 shelves of graphic novels, they do not look clean.
It is exactly what it is, man. It's like it's
It's a failure of marketing on the back end versus
well,
front end.
it's that, and it's again, I have managed to read some of the Marvel books here and there. I mean, just in passing fancy, and I don't know what they're doing, but the Marvel art is a lot of it is pretty atrocious, and the stories are the stories and the dialogue within the stories are badly written. It's almost like some of these characters they give speeches every panel. You know, I mean, there's no great dialogue flow. I mean, it doesn't grab me anymore. A lot of these characters, they've become uninteresting and they've become a lot much softer versions. I mean, Jason Aaron, who's been writing Thor for the longest time, really hates Thor. Like he has Thor lose his hammer. He has Thor get his ass kicked by his ex girlfriend. You know, he's weak. He's feckless. You know, it's like, all right, this is a man with the one swing of a hammer can crack open a small planet, and now he's second rate to like that. You know, it's just like I mean the way that a lot of the characters are being treated these days, and it's like it's reflected in the television shows also. You know, it's like Marvel. It's not even so much the whole woke thing. It's just that Marvel is just doing really bad, and what they're doing is they're getting away from who the characters are, and they're homogenizing them in the TV shows, and they're doing it in the same thing with the. They're doing the same thing with the comics either, as well. You know, I mean, since 2012 that it was introduced, I've never heard of the Chitauri before the first Avengers movie. Now all of a sudden they're a threat, and it's like okay, who are these guys? And it's just like oops, I mean, you expect it from a movie, but you don't expect it from a comic book right after the first movie begins. It's like, oh, now we're going to change all the continuity of the Marvel comics and it's going to fit the
So
continuity of the MCU, which is okay, but remember, they haven't had X-Men or Fantastic Four for quite some time, and the last bunch of X-Men movies and the Fan Four Stick movie, they were both terrible. God, ugh, barf. You can't take Dark Phoenix and make it into an hour and a half comedy. You just can't do it. I'm sorry.
I thought Days of Future Past was okay.
That was the only one that was good of recent time. The Days of Future Past was really good, and they actually, yeah, Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix was dog shit. I'm sorry, it was. Forgive the language, but
I know you
Days
could
of
say
Future
that. That's not offensive.
Days of Future Past was actually really good because in the original Days of Future Past in the 1980s, 1981, when John Byrne and Chris Claremont were on that team, they had Kitty Pryde go back in time. That's great, but a logical person, especially for how long Wolverine has been alive, it makes a lot of sense
Yeah, I thought it was way
that
better for Wolverine.
him going
Way
back
better.
50 years, he was technically in his 20s, biologically in his 20s in 1973. Wolverine has been alive for about close to like 150 years. He has the lifespan of a Vulcan. And it's like it was a great choice for him to go back there. And I happen to really love the character development throughout, how they interacted with each other over the years and over the decades. And Charles talking to himself, that validates a lot of people who speak out loud. So it's okay. But that was a very well-rounded movie, but that was the last one of X-Men that they did that was good except for X-Men First Class and X2. The rest were crap. Terrible.
No, no, I loved Days of Future Past. I thought it was great. I really did.
It was
And
very good. It was a very good movie. It really was.
I thought they did a nice way. I thought they really followed the comic pretty damn good with a few
It was
changes.
close enough. It was close.
And then I didn't feel like they went over and stepped over the line. And then I loved it. And I thought it was brilliant. And I even thought like the graphics were great. And I thought the comedy was spot on with it.
I like the Sentinels. Those Sentinels were nasty. They were nasty as Sentinels. Jesus Christ. They wiped out the X-Men in every single scenario. That was just insane. Oh, God. Woof. Man, that was the Empire Strikes Back of the X-Men until the
Very
end
much.
when they actually won. So that was pretty damn good. It was pretty damn good.
And then I liked how it linked back into X-Men 1 too. I thought that was great. I thought that was a nice little tribute at the end. I thought that was just
It
brilliant.
was.
And then
It
I loved
was.
the end where Charles was like, "Let me tell you what happened." And I thought that was just brilliant to the
Yeah.
end. So
Yeah.
you had to teach history, and I thought it was like,
I thought it was good. And I like how Wolverine when he came back, when he came back to the future, excuse me. Um it was good. And it's like how he saw everything. It was so differently, and then had that cameo of, the Beast going, "Hey Logan, did you just sleeping too late again, huh?" And it was like he just passed him, and it's like Jean Grey is there, and then Scott's there, and it's just like it was really cool. It was a really really good movie, and I'm glad that I saw that in I saw that in the theaters. I thought it was great. You know what I wish I saw in the theater? Oh my God, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Oh, oh my God. I cried. I watched it the day that it premiered on a DC. I forgot the name of it. DC Entertainment, the pay service or something.
yeah, what
Oh
became HBO Max eventually.
yeah, the HBO. I'm sorry, HBO Max. Oh my God. The last time I was ever wowed in a theater like that was or any superhero movie was when was when I can't even say Endgame was all that great, really. I mean, I thought Endgame was okay. I knew they were going to win at some point, but I mean, the last time that I felt like that in a movie theater was when I saw a relaunching, like an ultimate edition of Superman 2, the Donner cut. the Donner cut was, wow, so much better, so much better. And that was a similar thing with Richard Donner that they did with Zack Snyder. It's just that Richard Donner never had the chance to finish the movie until much, much later. Because from what I understand, the Salkins, Richard and Elia Salkin, they fired Richard Donner 3/4 of the way through the production of the second movie. So they hired Richard Lester, who is a good who is a good director, but he's more of a comedic director. So he had to throw in a whole bunch of like silly and happy and funny elements, instead of some of the scenes that were there to finish it up. But man, it's like, and the same thing happened with Zack Snyder, where it's like, oh, you have to go because this isn't what we understand. And then they got the director for the Avengers, and it became the Justice Avengers. It was like the Justice League, and it's
Uh,
oh
I,
god, that
I love,
I
I
saw
love,
that, I
I love
cringed.
Zack Snyder. I'm a big fan of Sucker Punch.
So am I. I'm a big fan of everything he does. He's so good when it comes to the theatrics. He is perfect timing when it comes to his storytelling.
He in
He's out
my
of his mind. He's out of his mind. He's so damn good.
he has captured something that is comic book shooting, and
Yeah.
the way I describe that is the only other thing that I've seen that has done that is Happy on Sci-Fi, where Happy
I
legit.
saw what I wanted to see that. I saw one episode and it looks really strange. I love it. I
Love
mean,
Christopher
what's his
Meloni.
name?
Christopher
Yeah,
Meloni.
Christopher Maloney's always a win. He's always a win. You put him in. You can put him in anything. He's like, that's it.
He's
He's
doing a
good.
great job in organized crime right now. He's a
He is.
great.
I figured he would be. I figured he would
Oh,
be.
he's great. He's great.
Oh, he's awesome. He's
he's
always awesome.
he's the right type of dick, but he's a likable
Yes,
dick.
yes, absolutely.
But
He was
he's
like,
apparently a very nice guy. He was great
oh
in
yeah,
Oz. He was great in all this stuff, and like
he was
he was
great
great
in
in.
Oz. He was in Man of Steel. He was in the first Man of Steel movie, right? He was the Colonel. You froze, man. Oh, there you are. Okay.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay, good. Yeah, he was in Man of Steel, and he was the one who was like going to the chick. He's like, "Hey, a good death is its own reward." And he flies the plane into the quantum singularity, and he saves the Earth pretty much. And it's like, yeah, I expect him to do that because he's a man. He's that type of person that would do it, And it's just like it was awesome. That whole thing was just crazy,
I mean, I
So
love him.
it's like
I love him in
yeah.
Wet Hot American Summer too.
I have never seen that. I haven't seen that one.
You got to go watch it. It's so good. It's so
Wet
good.
Hot American Summer. Was Janine Garofalo in that?
I think so. Everybody's
Okay.
in that.
I'll watch it despite her
Bradley
being in
Cooper's in
there.
there. All these
Oh
top
Jesus.
people are in this. It's
Oh
like
my God.
when they were nobody. It's like Dazed and Confused, where all
Oh
these top
Jesus.
people were in Dazed and Confused, and it
Oh
was
my
their first
God.
thing.
Really?
Matthew McConaughey's first movie was Dazed and Confused, and how he got it is that he just took off his shirt and he was walking around set.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Man, I will never forget, never in my life, the scene. I never understood why Warner Brothers executives thought the Flash pushing a Russian family in a car was going to be that much better than the Flash literally going back in time after the Justice League lost and saving the planet by going faster than the speed of light. And that was the most incredibly epic scene I've ever seen in a comic book movie. I was like, you know what? That's it. We're good. I'm not going to see anything like that again for 50 years. It's not going to happen. Oh, it was so damn good. I hope it's re-released at some point. I hate what they did. They got rid of the entire whole Snyderverse thing. They got rid of it all. I'm like, why?
I don't understand DC.
I don't understand them either. They're
I'm a
idiots.
stockholder, so I was very fortunate enough where I bought a lot of AT&T, and I bought it on the way
Okay.
up and on the way down, and I got
Excellent.
that stock spinoff. So I have Warner Brothers Discovery as a stock. Now,
Okay, great.
I don't have them as a stock for DC. I understand that they own a lot of other things: HBO Max, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, of course.
So all of a sudden, what really matters to me is
Mhm.
DC is a very small part of HBO
Yeah.
in reality. And I love, but I don't know why they're doing what they're doing to DC. I don't get it. I don't understand because you have winners and you have losers in that company. I think
Mm,
Titans was brilliant, and I thoroughly enjoyed Titans. I enjoyed Stargirl too. And
mm,
I don't really know why you got rid of the Snyderverse. Why don't you just create DC Black, put it on HBO
yeah.
Max, and have a good time? And then you get the Joker in there, and now you solved a bunch of problems.
They should have just,
Let it
if
be.
it was me, I would have let Zack Snyder finish Justice League 2 and 3 concurrently so then he can release them a year after each other. Because at the end of the first Zack Snyder's Justice League movie, when Darkseid was when he goes to Desaad and he goes, anti-life is here, is on Earth, and we will stop at nothing to possess it. And then Desaad's like, oh wait, what? And he goes, ready the Armada. We're gonna use the old ways. And I'm like, holy crap, what the fuck are the old ways? It's like, what the hell is that gonna be? And it's the only thing that I can think of is like 1,000 boom tubes all over the planet. And it's like then it becomes the real Justice League, and it's like, Jesus Christ, I can't even imagine what that would have been like. Ah, but that's not gonna happen. Now you're gonna have
I think,
young
I think,
Superman.
yeah, no, I think that they messed up, and
Oh, they did.
this is what I think DC should do, right? I think
Yeah.
they should do exactly what Marvel didn't do. I think they should go create three separate things that are going on and break up
Mm,
all the characters to some
yeah.
degree. So what you have is you might have Green Lantern, and then
Mm,
whoever's associated with Green Lantern, you have those stories, and those are going to play around in a bunch of movies with each other. So you get the single
yeah.
movies, the crossover movies, and now that's one version. Then you might get Batman doing his own movie, you get Superman doing his
Mm,
own movie, and then Batman, Superman come around, Wonder Woman comes around. If you're going to reboot the whole thing, then you have other characters in the third group, and then eventually you get to a big event where all three of those things converge. But you're talking
yeah.
10 movies in each of those categories before they start converging, and then you converge outward and you converge
Yeah.
inward. And now what you're really doing is that you're building a lot of stuff. But if you are only dealing with 5 characters in each category, it's less confusing. And
Yeah.
also,
It
it's
is.
the market. Because let's be realistic here. A Green Lantern movie, maybe it doesn't hit. So maybe you got to go back to the drawing board and you say,
That's
look,
true.
Kyle isn't the answer, but John Stewart is, or Guy
Oh
Gardner is.
yeah.
And now you could really test things and you actually see what works. And then you could take that information because it's a long game. It's not a short game. And that's the
Yeah.
problem I think that a lot of people in comics do not understand is you need to think
Mm,
long term. I'm an investor. My horizon as an investor is 5 to 10 years. It's not
mhm.
6 months from now.
No,
And
it's
I
not.
think this is the biggest problem with American investing is that people have a 8-month investment term, and how you make real money as an investor in America is looking at it at 5 to 10 years out.
I never knew that. That's good knowledge to have.
Because it's compounded. So if you buy Coca-Cola and you hold Coca-Cola for 10 years,
Hmm.
statistically, you're going to be up so much more. There's a
Yeah.
statistic that came out on Bitcoin. If you bought Bitcoin at $200 and you just left it alone, it would have compounded 25x. If you bought Bitcoin,
Jeez.
sold it when it hit 69,000, and then you came back down, your compound rate, you would have made a lot of money, would be
Oh
more
man.
than 10x. And even at 17,000, I mean, it's at 20,000 today. Even at 20,000, your compound rate is 25x plus.
That's
Your
crazy.
compound rate beats out even at a $40,000 loss, which is ludicrous. Because if you just held it and you held on to it for 4 years,
Yeah.
then better than if you were playing and trading. It's a real problem, and I think this is the biggest problem. But I could talk about DC Comics. I mean, I own a piece of them, and I got all those shares for free, so I'm not complaining.
Good for you. Wow. You got DC Comic shares for free. That's pretty damn good. Wow, man. I'm impressed. That is really awesome.
No,
I wish I,
I
I
told
would
you
I
this, and
would
all I want to do is I want to give my knowledge away for free. Nobody wants it. It's so upsetting to me. It's so upsetting. I want people to win with money. I love talking money, and I want people to be financially free. And it drives me mad when I'm like, yeah, well, I'll talk to anybody for an hour afterwards, giving stock advice, telling them what to do, how to make money, and like.
Can I? I'll hit you up on that, but can it be at another time because it's like
Yeah, anytime, anytime.
it's coming up on an hour, and I'm a little bit under the weather. Where I am right now, there's a bunch of cats, and I'm not allergic to them, but I'm reacting to them.
So I do want to get out of this, and I want to talk about a few of my favorite people. Obviously, I just want to say
No,
hi to
that's
Pops.
fine.
I just want to say hi to Pops.
Yeah, hi Pops, and there's a couple of people that I'm not going to bother mentioning or anything because that we're not going to talk about them. We're not going to talk.
We can talk about Chris. We can talk about Chris Brown.
You told me. Oh, that okay. All right. Okay.
No, that was a joke. The reason why is Chris is on my show all the time. He's all the time on my show, and I'm super stoked. He was just on my show like last week. We were talking about gone hunting, and I know you have a book. I think the cover for him coming out, right?
Yeah, I have to finish inking it. Yeah, I have to finish inking it. I'm going to finish it this week, and I'll unveil it on the next podcast that I am with him. And yeah, I have the art with me. I just don't know where it is.
I might want to be
actually,
on that one.
You know what? Let me take a look. Let me see if I can. Let me see.
And then obviously, I mean, I know you've done stuff for Demon Bitch.
I did one thing for Demon Bitch. I did one little thing for her, and it was just that was it. Give me a second. I think I have it. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I have the. Yeah. Here, I'm sending it to you on Facebook. Do you want to? Do you want to?
Yeah.
You should have it in your Facebook chat if you want. Click it and post it up here, and you can show everybody. You can show your audience what I did for Mr. Chris Brown, if you'd like. That would be nice.
I'll pull it up right
now. That's what I was working on. That's what I'm working on now.
Pull it up right now for everybody. Just give me one.
All right, cool.
Second. While I just get it for everybody. It's gonna take wow. Yeah, and then you've done work for Lori.
I did. Oh, I'll give you that one too. I think I have that one as well. That's right, I did. Let's see if I could find it somewhere here. I think it is. Well, I also. What else did I do?
This is Chris's one.
That's Chris's. Yes, that's Chris's. Oh man, that's a little fuzzy. Ah, damn. You know what it is? It's probably because. Yeah, let me see.
I also might have taken it. I could actually pull up a better one. I could just share the screen for those.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I have to make sure I share the right screen because
that's okay.
yeah. Hopefully everybody can see that.
All right. And I just sent you another one. I sent you the pencil version of the cover of what I did for Lori's book.
I'll pull that one up too.
So if you want to pull that one up as well.
I think that's it, right? It appeared.
Yeah, that's a Path of the Pale Rider. That's one of the alternate covers, and it's like, yeah, I did that. That was fun. I did that live. I drew that live on one of the podcasts that Pops has, and yeah, man, that was some fun stuff.
So I was joking when I said we can't talk about Lori or Chris.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought you were serious.
I want to make that crystal clear that I was joking. There are people we can't talk about for real on this show. They know who they are. For me not to be able to talk about you or not want to talk about you,
it's okay.
It takes a lot.
But yeah, man,
Chris has been on a bunch. Chris has been on a bunch. I'm going to be on Chris's show talking about probably fishing, so that'll be fun. Because I like fishing because I get to sit on a dock and I can't move. And as a person with a disability, I can feel like a hunter. Not having to actually hunt. You open up a few cold ones, you just throw your rod out on the dock.
Man. And absolutely.
Me versus the fish. But even going further into that too, what is this like? Because you've moved from working for the big two, having that, and then doing a lot of work for your own book, and then doing covers for other people. And it's kind of, I think, the right change because at this point,
thank you.
Indie comics are big. I'm in the process of hiring variants. I don't want to tell anybody my idea at the moment, but when everybody, publicly at least, a few people know it, I'm right now raising funds. I'm just waiting to really up and get it going. And I think people are going to love me and hate me at the same time for it. And be like,
Mhm.
brilliant. That's brilliant what you're about to do.
Well,
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good, my thought. But continue.
I love the indie market, for the most part, because a lot of the stuff that I started doing for the indie market, a lot of the books that I started penciling for them, I had to create a lot of the characters in the concept format, and it was a lot of fun designing them. And as I did, um, I felt closer to the project because a lot of the other characters I had to work on for Marvel or DC, it's like these characters have been established forever, and it's like they're not really mine. I can't see myself as a creator or a sequential artist continuously drawing someone else's characters. I want to draw my own, and I have. I wish we had time to talk about it. I'll see if I could send you the graphic novel in PDF format. But I have a book. Let me see. I don't even think I can even show you. I don't know where the hell it is. Pardon me.
So let me ask a question because and I'll just
Hmm.
put my job into this. I'm
Yeah,
right now
yeah,
at my job creating a policy and creating a procedure out of scratch. It's a lot of fun to some degree because it's very
yeah.
cool.
I've done that too. It's like,
So
yeah.
when you're creating a logo, for instance, or you're creating, something, what is that like? Because it is fun. I mean, obviously with Chris's thing, I think certain things have been established. But
Well,
also you have a
um,
freedom to do cool shit, for lack of a better word.
well, I'll give a personal story here. I moved to Great Britain in 2000, February 29th, 2020. And 2 weeks later, that's when quarantine hit for COVID. And then 2 months later, I found out that I had cancer. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. Life basically said "fuck you," and they did this to you,
well, it
right?
did a little bit. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a scar down here. Like, there's a surgery scar here. They
I don't
opened
think
up
we
my
can see
neck.
it. It's hard to see it, but
No, I'm sorry. I have a scar.
it's not important.
I have a
For
scar
good
from the back of
people.
my ear all the way to my clavicle, and they opened me up, and they had to cut my neck muscle in half to reach into my chest cavity to pull out the 95 lymph nodes that were cancerous. And then I had to go through radiotherapy for about a month and a half. And during all my cancer treatment, I was drawing, writing, and coloring the first issue of my graphic novel series. And I did all that while undergoing treatment. And when it was finally published, it did pretty decently. The second issue did better. And I still have yet to get back to the third issue because I've made a couple of adjustments in my art style, but I should never have done it. And I got to tell you, I had that was one of the best moments of my life because it's like I didn't know if I was going to live or not. They couldn't find the cancer. They knew I had it, but they couldn't find it just yet. And
It's funny. I was reading about James
oh,
Hunt.
it's horrifying. It's horrifyingly funny. It really is because it's like it's a joke. It's like I just came back here, and I'm like, oh great, I may die. It's like maybe I should do something
So
before anything else happens.
it's interesting because James Hunt went through. He was Formula One driving. Him
Yeah.
and Nicky Lauda. Brilliant,
Mm.
brilliant. One of Chris Hemsworth's best roles ever. Um,
Okay.
Ron Howard directed that movie. And the point of where I'm going is that James Hunt said, "The closer I am to death, the more I feel alive," and that's
Yeah,
a very true statement. Every time I've done something
that's
that could
true.
have gotten me killed, and I've
Yeah,
crossed the line, I felt more alive than ever before,
that's
and I
very
felt
true.
out of that. And people can see it, and they could smell it, and like people are like, "Oh shit!" Like
Hmm.
there's something going on. Like I did a very
Yeah.
dangerous interview last night with somebody, and she's a sweetheart. It was great, but it was a very adult interview. Bella Rockefeller, very adult, entertainment oriented, and it's
Who's Bella Rockefeller? Never
she's
heard
an
of her.
LC dominatrix fighter. Adult industry model. Awesome. I have her number. It's cool. We're
Nice. Oh my God,
it's fantastic. It's
you
fantastic.
naughty pimp, you. Oh my God, you got to keep that pimp hand strong, my friend. Make sure that if she disobeys, she either has to make you a sandwich or she gets the hand across the butt.
No, I'm
Nicely
making her
done,
a
man.
sandwich. That's how that's gonna go.
All right. Okay. All right.
I know my place in the relationship. I'm perfectly happy with it.
Oh my
No.
God, that's too much. I don't know, man. For me, I'm not that anybody else is different, but I'm like, yeah, that would be a different story with me, But that's just me, But that's cool, man. Yeah, and it's been an interesting ride because as of September of this year, I got hired as a university lecturer teaching gaming art, concept art, and stuff like that, and it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. It's the greatest. It's
It's
the greatest thing I've ever done in my
very
entire life. Someone taught me how to do what I needed to do, and now I get a chance to pay it forward. And I must be doing something right. The students love me, and I love them. So it's kind of like a destiny fulfilled type of thing.
it's interesting, right, about teaching as well. And I think we spoke about this before
Yeah.
on a CromCom, but I'm in the process where obviously I work in education and I work in accessibility. So I'm making sure that
Okay.
our product is accessible. It's very
Yeah.
rewarding to know that a
It
blind
is.
or a deaf student is going to get maybe 80% of what the sighted student is going to be seeing when it's zero right now. That's a
Yeah.
huge gain. I would
That's
like it to be
fantastic, man.
100%. I would like it, but I understand there's limitations. I'm a realist but I can get it up to 80.
It's
It'll work.
better than nothing. Whatever you're doing, it's better than nothing.
And 80 is a B, guys. It's a B. And
Yeah,
I
it
will
is.
happily take a B any day of the week when we're starting at an F.
Yeah.
But my point is that also I'm building out my class of teaching people how to invest in comic books.
Mhm.
And my class is going to be like 40, maybe $50 on Udemy for about 20
Okay.
hours. And my whole thing is that I'm going to find it very rewarding when I do that. And I'm now speaking to people about financial literacy. And that is also very rewarding when I go and I talk to somebody on Kickstarter. I'm like, great, you have a Kickstarter manager, but let's talk about your business. And let's get you to the point of what I've done in my eBay business, where
Mhm.
I've created a business that gives me a distribution of 5 figures a year, and while it's self-sufficient. And
That
I've
is impressive.
become, and it's very lack of capital centric, meaning it returns me a distribution purposely, because more money in my business will not actually help the business. The business needs to stay where it's at, and it's a bad idea to reinvest the money back into the business because it'll actually hurt the business versus me taking it and buying another business with that money or buying equity. And so I want to free people financially, and I find it very rewarding because if I can free somebody financially, they're not in competition with me. If somebody
Yeah.
wants to copy my eBay business model, it's going to force me to actually get better. And so I would imagine that it's a very cool thing when somebody gets to say, cool, I get to do this. And it also changes the way you look at life, I would imagine.
That is true. That is true. I have a friend of mine who does very well for himself, but he's reached a certain point with his money that he travels all the time, and he's living his best life. He reached a certain point where he knows he's going to be comfortable for good, and that's a good thing. And if you're helping people with that, that's an even better thing, especially when it comes to trying to achieve their dreams and stuff like that. That's a very noble thing you're doing. Thank you. I definitely want to talk to you about this at another time, man. You'll forgive me. I'm fading a little bit. I'm not
Fine, you're
feeling
fine.
very well.
Fine. There's a reason why. Where full disclosure, and I don't think you're gonna mind me saying this. When we were speaking, you're like, we could do it before 10 o'clock. I said, dude, I could do it at 1 o'clock my time, your time at 6 o'clock, because I know you're in the
It was
UK.
very nice of you to do that, by the way. Thank you. Thank you.
It's I'm well aware because I speak to people from all over the world. I've spoken to people from Japan, from Spain,
Yeah.
UK. Obviously, I speak to people
Yeah.
out west, so I understand that I am dealing with people from all over the world. What I'm actually trying to do is get somebody from South Africa because I have not touched
Okay.
Africa as a continent yet in my business.
Okay.
It's a goal, it's a personal goal. This year, it's something that I want to do. So if somebody knows a cosplayer or a comic writer or a voice actor or a wrestler from South Africa, and they're actually in Africa collectively or South Africa or any part of Africa, I would love to be
Yeah.
introduced because I think it'd be cool on a
I,
personal.
I I only know a couple of Nigerian princes who asked me to marry them. So,
But I
I
digress.
get that.
I
I get those all
digress.
the time.
I'm
I
on my
digress.
fourth marriage with one of their princesses, so it's complicated. They haven't showed up yet, but I did send
Oh
$100. They said they'd
man.
give me 1,000,000 rupees, so I don't know
Oh
if it's a good deal.
God.
Um,
I don't. Maybe she'll show up. Maybe she got held up in customs. I don't know.
it's all right. It's all right. I understand. No. I don't pay
Oh
at all.
Jesus.
But anyway,
Oh God.
I do want to give
Thank
you a chance
you.
to self promote yourself.
Okay.
Where could
All
people
right.
find you, bother you, hit you up?
People can find me on the Madness Comic Network. I co-host a couple of podcasts. The Monday Madness and the Madness Open Draw Stream, where other comic creators like myself, we sit around, we kvetch, we talk about everything in general. We have a really good time. Sometimes it gets a little adult, sometimes it gets very adult and very blue, but we have a lot of fun when we draw stuff. And that show is on at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the Monday Madness is 3 p.m. Eastern Time on a Monday, in which we interview people who have Kickstarter campaigns or who want to promote their book or their game or their or whatever they decide to do.
I'll be
That's
there
where you could see
eventually.
me Sundays and Mondays on those days. Absolutely.
I will be there when my class launches, and I will probably give a 50% discount to everybody there. So if you want to take my
That's
class,
nice
it's
of you.
$20. Oh no! Again. It's free money for me. So
Yeah,
but again, obviously, I'm going to keep saying this. You have to support indie. What that
mhm,
means is you have to actually put your money where your mouth is. If somebody has an
that
indie
is true.
comic, you should buy it. If somebody has, an indie graphic novel, if they got a PDF of it, you should support it. Or if they have Buy Me a Coffee, a Patreon, all that stuff goes a long way. You'd be surprised. $5 goes a long way because if 500 people gave me $500, I would not have a money problem, and I
Yeah,
would
that's true.
expand this massively. Pops is a good example. If everybody who and any
Hmm.
interaction once a year gave Pops $5, the Madness would never ever have a monetary problem ever again, every year.
You know,
But
quite frankly, a lot of the people who subscribe to the Madness too, uh, Pops helped out a lot of people for good ever since the pandemic started, and even if it's quote unquote over, I mean, there would be a lot of people who got their start there, who quite frankly haven't really given him the respect that he deserves. Um,
even in
if it
exchange,
wasn't for him,
yeah.
he wouldn't. I mean, a lot of people would be. A lot of people would be stuck. So no matter what anybody says, Pops
A,
Van Zant
a
deserves a
lot.
lot of credit.
I will say this, and I will say about myself, and I think I can speak for Pops on this. I started doing a lot of live stuff in the middle of COVID because I realized a lot of people were fucked over. And particularly the industry that I thought was fucked over was the wrestling industry, more so than comics.
Yeah,
Um, and so I said,
oh
look,
yeah, absolutely.
these people are getting fucked over. Maybe I could help them out. Maybe I could get them some media. And then it just expanded on me. I didn't think anything of it. I thought it
Yeah.
was going to be 4 months and I was going to be done and happy and moving on.
Oh my god.
Obviously,
Yeah.
even in exchange, because there's a lot of people who have shows and people don't offer interview exchanges with me. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so I am at the stage now that I'm calling it out. And if that guy, if I've helped you out, if Pop has helped you out, realize that money goes a long way. And buying somebody a coffee for $5 or even giving them
Yeah,
send hey, what's your PayPal, what's your Cash App, goes a long way. Goes a long way.
it
Or
does.
or if you have a show, interview somebody. I've interviewed Pops. It's a good interview. We had a good time. And that's my point is that that's something that I think is very important. And I can't say enough about it. And even going further, following people on social media. You'd be surprised. I appreciate Twitter follows. I appreciate Instagram follows. I appreciate a lot of things like that. Introductions are very helpful. Plenty of people introduced me to other people that have benefited me tremendously. I joke about Bella Rockefeller, but a guy named Tommy Bell really helped make that happen for me. And he's going to probably introduce me to Don Cross. And if you know anything about adult stuff, Don Cross is a very influential person in that industry with photos. So again,
Okay.
introductions are helpful. But I digress. I'm going to quickly promote myself because I don't want to keep here all night or all afternoon. I do want to watch some football, American football.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I know the distinction. Don't worry.
No, I'm making sure,
Forgive
but
me. I do want to talk longer. I'm under the weather a little
I'm
bit,
just
but
going to promote myself and then give you the final word. So
no,
I
that's fine. Thank you for having me on, man. I had a lot of fun.
this is the
And
part where I speak. You could speak in the final word. I'm going to speak now.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Just follow me on social media, everybody. It's Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook. I appreciate everybody who subscribes on YouTube, Pop Anime Comics. This way you do not miss interviews. I got a whole stack of people coming on this week. I have Dolan from Merck coming on. I got Mike Barron coming on. I got Bella Madison coming on. And then I got Dustin Waller, who's one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, coming on this week. So far, and I'm sure that's going to change tomorrow. I'm probably going to add a fifth, maybe even sixth person on. Hey, I might even show up on Monday if I'm allowed in to something on the Morning Madness or the Monday Madness, whatever it is. If I'm
You're
welcome,
allowed. Show up by all means. Please do.
but that's all I got going on. I also buy me a coffee. I have a T-shirt. So if anybody would like to support what I do, independent media is always gracious when people support me economically, but more importantly, I appreciate a share and a follow. It's free. It means a hell of a lot to me as a person. But anyway, that's all I got, and I will let you have the final word.
Thank you for having me on, and I hope in the near future you will allow me back on here again and we can talk more about comics.
Always, anytime.
And thank you again, man. I had a lot of fun. To everybody out there who's watching, thank you. I'll see you guys in the funny papers. Yep. Take care, man. You have a good one, buddy.
And that is a wrap, everybody.